when I press 7, it's 7. When I press bracket, it is bracket. When I press X, it is X. When I press shift and I press any button, then the things written with yellow will become operational. For example, if I press shift and I press X, summation will be applicable. When I press shift and I press AC button, the calculator will switch off. If I press shift and I press, let's say 8, so conversion, above 8 with yellow it is written conversion, so conversion will be operational. So whenever I want to use the things written with yellow, I will press shift and apply those functions. If I wish to use the things written with red, I will press alpha and I will use that button. For example, I want to write 5x and I want to write is equals to on the display. So I will press alpha and I will press calculate, because with red it is written equals to. I hope this makes sense. So whatever is written with red, I want to write that, I will apply the button alpha and write it. For example, I want to write D. So what I'll do is I write alpha and I write D. I want to write F, I write alpha and I write F. So whatever is written with red button is applicable. I hope this makes sense. So buttons will work normally. If I want yellow buttons to be operational, I will use shift button. I want red buttons to be operational, I will press alpha. Plus variables and statistical calculations, results stored in the memory can be displayed. Please remember, we can store values in the alphabets that are given in the calculator. And if you see, we have A, B, C, follow the cursor, D, E, F, X, Y, and M. If I wish to store values, I'll press the value that I want to store. I want to store 9. I will press this STO button, which means store. What do I wish to store? I wish to store 9 as A. So now A is 9. I want to store B as 8. So 8 store and this B. I want to store C as 15. So 15 STO and then C. I wish to store D as 0.2. I wish to store E as, let's say, 1000. I wish to store minus 21 in F. I wish to store 0.5 in X. And that's it. So if I wish to see what values I have stored, I will press shift. I will press the STO button. Shift and STO. Shift and STO means whatever is written with yellow on STO. On yellow it is written recall. With yellow it is written recall. So I'll press shift and STO and it will recall the memory. That is, A is 9, C is 15, E is 1000, M and Y I did not put any value, so they are 0. B is 8, D is 0.2, F is minus 21, X is 0.5. I hope this is clear. You can perform spreadsheet calculations, matrix, vectors, multi-line display, integration and differential calculations can be done, equations can be calculated, inequality calculations can be done, advanced statistical distribution calculations, ratio calculation, matrix conversions, scientific constants, variable list, statistical list, digit separator, engineering symbols, and online visualization using the QR code. All right. Since we just saved a few values, I'll just show you shift and recall. These were the values that we stored, right? Whenever we are performing a new feature altogether, let's say we were solving matrices and now we want to solve vectors, or we were solving vectors and now we want to solve trigonometry. My advice to all participants is always reset your calculators. so that all the memory from the calculator is erased and we can redo all the things. Because sometimes we store a few values and unfortunately we do not erase those values, and in subconscious memory of the calculator those values remains stored, and then there is a problem. So my advice is, every time you move on, it's better to initialize your calculator. To do that, you have to press shift and you have to press 9. When you press shift and 9, your calculator will ask you, do you want to reset the setup data, the memory, or you have to initialize all. If you only want to erase memory, you press 2. If you only want to reset the setup data, you do that. Setup data means I'll just be telling you what is the difference between setup data and mode. And if you want to initialize everything is basically factory default settings. I mean, when you buy a new calculator or you buy a new phone, you have the factory stored settings. So if you want factory stored settings, you press shift, you press 9, and when you get this screen, you press 3. It is asking, do you want to initialize all? Equals to if yes, AC if you want to cancel. I want to reset it, so I am pressing equals to. It says initialize all, press AC key. Now you'll press AC key and every memory is erased. If you do not trust me on that, what you do is press shift and recall memory. See, everything is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So all the memory that was there with the calculator has been erased. Now it's factory default settings of the calculator that is there on the screen. I hope this is clear to all of you. All right, so please see that all the memory is now not there in the calculator because factory default settings have been restored. Set up your calculator. Now please remember, calculator have two broad functions. One function is menu, or which you popularly call mode. In the previous versions of the calculator, it was known as mode. So many people still use the term mode. Mode means menu. In the previous episodes, we have been focusing on all the menus. I will just have a quick recap of the menus in a bit. The second feature is setup. So if I press shift and menu, I will go on to the setup. So setup and menu go hand in hand. Basically, when you are setting up your calculator, you try to find out whether you want answers in fraction or you want answers in decimal. What format do you want to apply? Do you want a digit separator after every 3 digits or not? Whether you want commas in between or not? Whether you want decimal or instead of decimal you want commas? Whether you want your calculator in radian mode or degree mode or gradient mode? All these questions are answered through setup. So I'll run through setup and see all the features that are available in setup. So the first feature in setup is input output, angle unit, number format, and engineering symbol. If I scroll down, it is fraction result, complex results, statistics, spreadsheet. If I scroll down, it is equation function, table, decimal mark, digit separator. If I scroll down, multi-line font, QR code, and contrast. So these are the setups available in your calculator. On the screen on your left, I have put all the screenshots at a go so that you can follow. So it is input output, angle unit, number format, engineering symbol, fractional results, complex statistics, spreadsheet, equation functions, and so on. So let's look at each and every setup in detail. So first is input output. So if after pressing shift and menu, I'm on the first screen. In the first screen, there is input / output. If I press 1, it is asking me, do I want the format of math 1, math 0, math 1, decimal 0, line 1, line 0, line 1, decimal 0. What do all these mean? We'll just look into that in detail. Let's say I press 1. When I press 1 and I press the command on the screen, that is 2 upon 4, plus 9 upon 23. And if I press equals to, my answer will be in fraction. Math 1, math 0 means that I want my answer to be in fraction and has to be written in two separate lines, like 41 upon 46. On the other hand, if for the same question I press shift and menu, I press 1 and I press 2, it is math 1 decimal 0. Math 1 decimal 0 means that the calculator will not give me answer in fraction mode. Instead, it will give me the answer in decimal mode. So if I repeat the question, that is 2 upon 4 plus 9 upon 23, and I press equals to, now automatically the calculator will give me answers in decimal. Sometimes the requirement of the question is to give answers in fraction, sometimes it is to give answer in decimal. So if you set up your calculator in the manner you want to give answer in, it will give you the answer in the same manner. So you don't have to switch it. But if you recall, I told you a hack that in order to convert decimal into fraction and fraction into decimal, this is the key button. Automatically, this is the hack, if you recall. So if I press this button, it is converting my answer into fraction. If I press this button, this is converting the answer into decimal. I hope you all remember this button, where my cursor is. So you can directly do that, but still, if there is a setup available in calculator, I need to tell you that, and that's why I'm telling you. On the other hand, if I press shift and menu 1 and I go on to line 1 line O. Line 1 line O means the calculator will give me answer in a single line. If you recall, the older version of the calculator, when you press the fraction button, used to give the fraction like this, as is being displayed on the pop-up screen. And all the good technology features, all the good technological devices have this capability that it is compatible to the older versions. All the new technology always is capable of reading the old technology. So that is why all those people who are comfortable with the older versions of the calculator and want to write it in the form as it was written in the older versions can still continue to do so. And for that, they have to enter line 1, line O setup. So same question and same answer, but altogether a different way of expressing it. I hope I'm clear. And last but not the least, the fourth option is same question, but line 1 means it has to be written in a single line, and decimal O or decimal 0 means it has to be written in decimal. So I will press shift and menu again. I will press input and output again, and I will press 4 so that I'm on line 1 and decimal 0 format. And now I will write 2 upon 4 plus 9 upon 23. These setup features are only for your comfort level. So you see, it is giving your answer in a single line. I hope this makes sense and this is clear. So this was the first setup, that is input output mode, in which you can either use the newer methods. Newer methods are mathematical notations. When you write fraction, you don't write it in a line. In calculator, you do not write it in a line. Instead, you write it in a fraction space like this. You usually write your fraction in this manner. 2 upon 4 is written like this. Even when you write it on a paper, you write it like this. So this is mathematical mode. But since older versions of calculator could not write it in mathematical mode, you used to write it on a line. So all those who are comfortable with the older versions, for them, the compatibility is this calculator helps you write it in the older versions also. But for the newer generations, I would prefer that we should always write it in the math mode as it makes more sense and it is more relatable. All right, so next feature, next setup is shift and menu, and it is angle unit. So I will press 2. When I press 2, the calculator is asking me whether I want to solve my question in degree mode, radian mode, or gradient mode. We did trigonometry in detail, so we are all aware of the fact that 180 degrees is equals to pi radians is equals to 200 gradient. Similarly, 90 degrees is equals to pi by 2 radians and is equals to 100 gradients. I have also given the conversion table here from degree to gradient. Usually we only apply degree and radian mode. We do not go on to the gradient mode, but we need to be very careful that if the question is in degrees, our setup has to be in degrees. If the calculator is in radian, our setup has to be in radian. We can't solve a degree question in radian mode and we can't solve the radian question in degree mode. We do that, we lose marks. So we have to be very vigilant, very careful, and very attentive about that. If we will not go into this setup, then by default, the calculator is applying the setup of degree. If you look at the pop-up screen, please note D is written here where my cursor is. Please note that it's D written here. D written here means that it's in degree mode. If I change the setup to radian mode, please note I have to go shift menu, then I have to press 2 and I have to press 2 for radian. Now please note it's written R here. Similarly, if I want to go on to gradient mode, I'll press shift and menu. I will press 2 for angle unit. I will press 3. Now please note it's G written here. But when my calculator is on factory default settings and I have initialized everything, the calculator itself will automatically be onto the degree mode. All right, so this was the second setup of the calculator, that is angle unit. So whatever angle you want to perform task in degree, radian or gradient, you can do that. Other than that, this is sine. I hope you are following my cursor of the mouse. This is sine, this is cos, this is tan. These are the three trigonometric functions. If I want their inverse, I will have to press shift and sine. It is sine inverse. I'll press shift and cos. This is cos inverse. I'll press shift and tan. This is tan inverse. So these are my trigonometric functions that are also available in the calculator. Furthermore, if you recall, I explained to you how to find hypotenuse if base and perpendicular is given, or how to find the base and perpendicular if angle and hypotenuse is given through these buttons. I hope you recall. It's the pole button, that is polar form. Polar form means trigonometric form, and this is REC. REC is rectangular form. Rectangular form means base and perpendicular. So polar form and rectangular form helps me find the hypotenuse and the angle, or if hypotenuse and the angle is given, it helps me find the base and the perpendicular, depending on whether we need answers in degrees, radians or gradient. And when I was discussing trigonometry, we did lots of examples. We did how to find different things through trigonometrical things, and these are the buttons that are available for that. Then there is number format. The third thing in the setup menu are the number format. Number format are divided into three categories: FIX, SCI and norm. Fix means you are fixing your calculator into a particular level where the answers will always come into that particular decimal places. For example, if I press, I will go on to menu, shift and setup. I went to 3, that is number format. Number 1 is fix. It is asking me fix 0 to 9, whether we want answers correct to 0 decimal places or 1 decimal places or 3 decimal places. Let's say I want my answer correct to 3. decimal places. So I have pressed 3. Now I press 1 divided by 36 and I press this SD button. The calculator is giving me 0.028. Why 0.028? Because I have told the calculator that I want answers correct to 3 decimal place. If I want my calculator to give me answer correct to 4 decimal place, I will press shift menu, number format, fix, and I am writing here 4. 4 means the calculator will give me answer in 4 decimal places, that is 0.0278. Similarly, if I want to give answer correct to 5 decimal places, so I will press shift menu, 3, number format, and I will fix my calculator to 5 decimal places. Now it is giving the answer correct to 5 decimal places. So it depends on how I want to give the answer correct to how many decimal places. Am I clear? SCI means scientific notation. Scientific notation means standard form. So if I want to give my answer in standard form, so in order to give answer in standard form, what I will do is I will press shift menu, I go to number format, I press 2. It is asking me scientific notation 0 to 9. Now here, if I press 2, it does not mean 2 decimal place. It means 2 significant figures. I hope the audience is aware of the difference between significant numbers and decimal places. So let's say I have pressed 3. 3 here means 3 significant figures. So 1 divided by 36, my answer is 2.78. Why 2.78? Because I instructed that my answer has to be correct to 3 significant figures. So 3 significant figures are 2.78 into 10 power minus 2. 10 power minus 2 because it is giving the answer in standard form. If let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and I wish to write it in scientific notation, I'll press equals to, it is 1.23 into 10 power 8. Why 10 power 8? Because there are 8 decimals before, there are 8 numbers after the decimal, and it is 3 significant figures because I instructed the calculator that I want my answers correct to 3 significant figures. Let's say I want my answers correct to 4 significant figures. So what I'll do is I'll change shift menu, I will press 3. I want scientific notation, I'll press 2. Now it is asking me how many significant figures. When I fix, it tells me fix up to number of decimal places. When I select scientific notation, it tells me how many significant figures. Please understand the difference. In fix, it is how many decimal places. In scientific notation, it is how many significant figures. So let's say I told it to be correct to 4 significant figures. I press 4, and now when I press equals to, it is 4 significant figures. 1.235, 10 power 8. I hope this is clear to all of you. On the other hand, when I press shift menu, number format, and I press 3, so it is asking me to select normal 1 or normal 2. Let's say I select normal 1 and I press 7 divided by 800 and I press equals to. So it has given me answers in fraction. If I want answers in decimal, I will press SD button and it will give me answer in scientific notation. On the other hand, if I press shift menu, number format is 3, it's normal, but this time I'm selecting normal 2. When I select normal 2 and I press 7 divided by 800, it is giving me answer in decimal form. So normal 1 will give me answer in scientific notation and normal 2 will give me answer in decimal format or normally as it has to be. So I hope this number format setup is also clear. All right. Now, although in your shift menu, there is a fourth option of engineering symbol. Since engineering symbol has nothing to do with OA level or metric intermediate mathematics, I will not be going into that. But if I go into that, it only asks me whether I want engineering symbols on or off. I do not need to be concerned about that. So I will keep the calculator's default settings and I will not change it. So that's why I am not going into much detail about engineering options. All we need to remember is we will prefer the calculator default engineering options. Then I move on to fraction, which is I am resetting my calculator because we have done lots of things. I don't want any memory to be there in the calculator, which might cause any kind of problem to me later. So I have reset my calculator. I am pressing shift and menu. When I press shift and menu, we discuss the first 4 features. I will scroll down and I have next 4 features. So next 4 features, the first feature is fraction result. I will press 1. When I press 1, it is asking me A, B oblique C or D oblique C. The difference between the two is 1, if I press 1, the answer will be in mixed numbers. If I press 2, the answer will be in improper fraction. I hope everyone knows the difference between mixed numbers and improper fractions. So if I press 1, and I press 25 divided by 3. The calculator will give me the answer in mixed numbers, that is 8 whole 1 upon 3. On the other hand, if I shift menu, scroll down, fraction result, and I press 2, the calculator will give me answer in improper fractions. I hope this is clear to all of you. All right, so if I press shift and menu again, and I scroll down, the second is complex. So if I press 2, it is asking me whether I want to give the answers of complex numbers in polar form or in rectangular form. So we discussed complex numbers in detail in one of the episodes, and in that I taught you that whenever we are encountered with complex numbers, usually the calculator will give us the answer in a plus b iota form, that is rectangular form. But if we want the answer in polar form, we can also get it by pressing 2. So 1 is automatically rectangular mode and 2 is the polar mode. So by default, the calculator will give us the rectangular mode. Then if I enter into the shift and menu panel, scroll down, the next thing is statistics. Next thing is statistics. So when I press 3, it is asking me whether I want the frequency to be on or off. If I press 1, the frequency will be on. If I press 2, the frequency will be off. And all those people who studied statistics with me in one of the previous episodes are aware of the fact that in statistics, sometimes we want frequency and sometimes we do not want frequency. By default, frequency is always on. The next in line is shift menu, and if you go down, it is spreadsheet. If I press 4, it is asking me whether in spreadsheet I want to auto calculate or I want to show cell. Since statistics is not part of, once again, O or A level mathematics, neither it is part of math intermediate or matriculation mathematics course. Therefore, I will not be going into the details of spreadsheet, but those who use spreadsheet also know the fact that sometimes in spreadsheets we want to auto calculate our cells and sometimes we want to show the cells and we don't want auto calculation. So this particular function is for spreadsheet users. Then if I shift and press menu and I scroll down, so we are done with these 4 also. I will further scroll down and it is equation and function. If I press 1, it is asking me is complex result on or off. This means that when we factorize and we solve equations and functions, sometimes we are encountered with complex numbers. So the calculator is asking whether you want the complex numbers to be displayed or you want complex numbers not to be displayed. If I prefer displaying the complex number, it means that calculator will give the answer in the form of iota. And if I will press complex numbers off, then calculator will simply say that the results are complex. I'll just show it to you. Let's say menu A, it's a polynomial and it's a quadratic equation. So let's say 2x square plus 3x square is equals to 8. And now please look at the fact that the answer is minus 3 plus under root 55 iota upon 4. The answer is in iota form, indicating that I have allowed complex answers. If I press equals to again, I will get the second root, which is also a complex root. If I press equals to again, I get x coordinate of turning point, and I press equals to again, I get y coordinate of turning point. If on the other hand, I press shift menu, I scroll down, and I press 1, and I say complex results off. I press 2, complex results off, and I have the same equation, 2x square plus 3x plus 8 is equal to 0, and I press equals to, the calculator will say no real roots, because I have kept complex option off, which means that if there is a complex number, the calculator will not show it. The calculator will only show the real roots. I hope this is clear to all of you. All right, so next feature in menu, in setup, is table. I will press table, that is 2. So fx means that the table, a single table can be drawn, and fx comma gx means a double table can be drawn. I mean, if you see the screen on the left, a single table will have one fx for one x value, whereas if I press 2, for the same data, 2 equations graphs can be identified and can be explored. I hope this is clear to all of you. We have already discussed table in great detail. Even when we discussed trigonometric identities, we discussed tables. When we were discussing graphs, we discussed tables. When we were discussing QR code, we discussed tables. So I think in previous 8 episodes, I have discussed tables at least 8 times. So tables have been discussed very frequently, and you all must be aware by now that sometimes we make a single table and sometimes we make double table. Double tables are made for comparative analysis. Single table is made for a single function. So the calculator is giving us a choice. Someone might ask, why is there a need for choice? If we want a single table, we'll make a single table anyways. Why is there a need for choice? Then the only reason that we are given this choice is, as you know, that in the very first slide I said 160 values can be stored in this calculator. So if we want a table with 160 values and we have a single function, so we can go up to 160 values. But if we have double functions, we cannot go up to 160 values, because one value will be stored for fx and the other value will be stored for gx. So technically we can have 80 values for fx and 80 values for gx. So that is why the calculator has this setup that we can put off gx so that we can get more values for fx. I hope this is clear. The next in line, shift menu, scroll down, is decimal mark. If I press 3, I'll go on to decimal mark. In majority of the cases, we use decimal as a dot. But in some countries, instead of dot, comma is used before a decimal. So this calculator is giving you an option whether you want a dot or a comma as a decimal mark. We usually keep it as dot, and even the factory default settings are dot. Next is digit separator. Shift menu, scroll down, and press 4. it is asking digit separator on or off. Let's say I put digit separator on and I write a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and I press equals to. Now please note, after every 3 digits there is a separator. After every 3 digits there is a separator. So digit separators are very helpful when we are doing lengthy calculations in which millions and trillions of dollars or rupees are involved. So in that case, it is always advisable to have digit separators, especially in case of zeros, so that we can separate zeros. For example, 23 trillion or billion or zillion or whatever. So this is scientific notation. I don't want scientific notation. I'll have to reduce a few zeros. I don't want scientific notation. I want to read the zeros. It's very obvious. It is 2300 million. Now reading a digit, reading a figure becomes easier because of digit separator. But on the other hand, if I close digit separator option and I press 4 and I press off and I press equals to. Now reading digits, I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it becomes difficult. So digit separator is always a helpful tool. I hope this makes sense and this is clear. Then you press shift menu, you scroll down and it is multi-line font. Multi-line fonts means this, that I have written 5x is equal to 15, x is 3, L minus R is 0. This is multi-line font, and multi-line font means that on a screen we can at a time show 3 and 4 lines together. So this is multi-line font. That is the display that I wanted to give. That multi-line font means this is multi-line fonts. So the small fonts work when we are in line 1, line 0 mode. So we are on small font and see that the fonts are small. So let's move on. The next feature is the QR code. We have been using the QR codes. There are 2 versions of QR code, basically version 3 and version 11. There are certain features that are only applicable in version 3 and there are some features that are applicable in version 11. But usually whenever the default settings are there, it's version 3 that is applied. So I think the audience need not be much concerned about which version is being applied. Whenever you scan the QR code, I hope by now everyone knows how to scan the QR code and where the QR code is. But for your convenience, I'll just run through something so that you realize how the QR code works. I will go on to menu and I will press A. Menu A is simultaneous equations and polynomials. I will press 2. The degree of polynomial is 2. When I say degree of polynomial is 2, it means it's a quadratic equation. So now I want to factorize this quadratic equation, and let's say this quadratic equation is 3x square 14x is equal to 8. 3x squared plus 14x is equal to 8, and I press equals to. My first answer is minus 2 upon 3. I press equals to again. My second answer is minus 4. I press equals to again. My minimum value is minus 2.33, and I press equals to again. My minimum value is minus 2.33 again. I can obviously press SD button to convert it into decimals and fractions. All right. If I wish to see how this graph looks like, I will press shift and I will press OPTN button. I will press shift and the OPTN button. Not supported version 3. So this, since I pressed version 3 earlier, it is saying that version 3 does not support the solution to this particular equation. So what I'll do is, whenever I encounter this, all I need to do is I press the AC button. I will press shift and menu. I will scroll down and I will press 2 and I will select version 11. Once I have selected version 11, I will press shift and option, that is QR code, and see the QR code is generated. So anytime you get this kind of a feature or this kind of command in the calculator which says that the version is not supporting, you change the version, you derive the QR code, you scan the QR code, and once you scan the QR code, it will be visible. So once you scan the QR code, this is the screen that is obvious to you. I hope everyone is following me. So this is the QR code scanned. Once I scan the QR code, I am onto this screen, and this screen is that this is the shape of the graph. X was -2/3, the other was -4, and all that stuff. And this is the answer. I hope you can now visualize how the QR code works. So all you need to do is you have to scan the QR code through your smartphones. It will automatically lead you to the site that it led me to, and you can read the calculator. I hope everyone now is familiar how QR code works. For practicing purpose, when you are using this calculator as a practicing tool, you feel you want to visualize how the graph looks like. So this is the way how you visualize your graph. For simplicity, I am applying the QR code onto the polynomial right now. So I will go onto menu and A, which is polynomials and simultaneous equations. Since I did polynomials earlier, I'll do simultaneous equations now. I'll press 1. It is asking me number of unknowns of simultaneous equations. I press 2. Let's say it is 2x plus 3y is equals to 7 minus 5x plus 2y is equals to -8. Let's say these are the two simultaneous equations and I wish to solve them simultaneously. I'll press equals to. My first answer is x is equals to 2. The value of y is 1. Now, before going out of this menu or pressing equals to again, you have to press shift and option. When you press shift and option, you get a QR code. Using your smartphones, all smartphones usually have the QR code option. Using this smartphone, you will scan the QR code. I'm doing that for you. Once I scan the QR code, I will be taken to the Casio ClassWiz site, and this Casio ClassWiz site will show me the graph and the online visualization. So one line is drawn with blue, the other line is drawn with red, and this is the point of intersection which shows that x is equals to 2 and y is equals to 1. I hope this is clear. So this contrast button is basically the display button, and if you press shift menu, you scroll down, the very last feature of setup is contrast. So when you press 3, it will ask you want to contrast it to lighter or darker. You go on to the right, the screen will become dark. You go on to the left, the screen will become light. But this contrast button will only work in the physical calculator. It will not work on the emulator, because emulator has the display which is best suited for our eyesights, and it will not change the contrast feature. So this was the setup menu. I have already taught you the store features. So this is the calculator mode. There are 12 mode of the calculator. Mode 1 is calculate, mode 2 is complex, mode 3 is base n, mode 4 is matrix mode, mode 5 is vector mode 6 is statistics, mode 7 is distribution, mode 8 is spreadsheets, mode 9 is table, mode A is equation and function, mode B is inequality, and mode C is ratio. More or less, we have covered all the modes in the previous 7 or 8 episodes that we conducted, and we went into the nitty-gritties of what can be done in which mode. For your further comprehension and for your further clarity, I have also written the details of what each mode does. On your calculator, use the arrow keys to select a mode, then press equals to. Click a mode below to find out more. So in calculate mode, we do normal calculations. In complex mode, we basically solve complex numbers. In base n mode, we convert a number into different base, that is decimal to binary and binary to decimal. Since spreadsheets and base n are not directly related to A-level mathematics nor matriculation and intermediate mathematics, therefore these are the only two modes, the spreadsheet and base n are the only two modes that we have not experienced during the previous 8 episodes, because our main concern was math online. So these were the two modes that we did not enter into. Other than that, we have entered into each and every mode and have applied each and every feature. Matrix mode, we solve matrices. Vector mode, we solve vectors. Statistics mode, we are able to find mean, standard deviation, that is measures of central tendency. We can also, using the QR code from the measures of central tendency, we can see the bar charts, the pie charts. In distribution mode, we can solve binomial, Poisson, and normal distributions. Spreadsheet, as I mentioned, it's like a Excel, and it allows you the input data, make calculations, solve spreadsheet related functions through the calculator. Then table mode helps you identifying and draw a table, and through that table you can visualize your graph. Equation function helps you solve functions, simultaneous equations, polynomials, that is quadratic equations, cubic equations, and quartics. Inequalities helps you find the inequality using quadratic inequalities, cubic inequalities, or quartic. And with the help of ratios, we solved similar triangles, we solved different ratios, and hence we did each and every feature. And if you see in mode 1, these were all the things that we did. We can solve fractions, we can apply mathematical operations, we can solve expressions, we can solve an equation, we can solve Pythagoras theorem, sum of series, differentiation, integration, permutations, combinations, prime factorization, store variables, unit conversions, scientific constant computations, random number generations, QR code generations. We did all that somewhere or the other in the previous functions, the previous episodes. Mode 2 is complex numbers. What we can do, we can find basic operations, conjugate, argument, real part, imaginary part, polar form, and rectangular form. Mode base n, we can use through the base n, we can use the functions in cyan color. Someone asked me in the previous episode, how can we use these buttons in the calculator which are written with blue on top, BEC, HEX, binary, octagon. These numbers are applicable in base n, and the blue buttons are applicable through base n, that is mode 3. But once again, since it is not directly related to math online, we did not enter into this mode, and we will not be discussing that any further. Mode 4 is matrix, and you can use matrix functions for basic operations, identity matrix, determinant of matrix, inverse of a matrix, transposition of a matrix, and find absolute matrix. That is all these things that we covered in matrix mode. Then in vector mode, we covered the basic operations of vectors, dot product, cross product, angle between the vectors, unit vectors. In statistics mode, we found the minimum value, maximum value, variance, summation, standard deviation. We did regression, we did normal distribution, Poisson distribution, binomial distribution. Then mode 9 is table. We did tables in details, that dual functions can be made tables from starting point, ending point, step size. Then we also did equation functions, that is mode A. We solved simultaneous equations, we solved polynomials, quadratic cubic equations, we solved the inequalities, that is mode B, and we solved ratios.